Yes, pure possibility. Now that I see the light, there's a lot of possibilities. When I was in the dark, I couldn't see the possibilities. I couldn't see what was going on or what was even possible for me. But I need the light in order to see and give myself some kind of direction, some kind of way home. I need the light of our shared spiritual awakening. I need the light of our love. I need the light of truth. So let's today embrace the light of a new day. Let us today embrace that light that's growing in us and in all the world. Let us embrace that light. It's always been there, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't be it because I wasn't brave enough to look in that direction. I'm stealing some words now from this amazing poet, Amanda Gorman, who spoke this week at the inauguration. And we're going to show a little bit of her later on. But what I want to do today is focus on the idea of embracing that light within us. And how do we do that? It's a new day. It's a new day of pure possibility and availability of that pure, infinite substance of life and love. A day which we, once again, are given a choice of how we want to show up. Who and what do we want to be? Every day we have that choice again. How am I going to show up today? It's not enough to just repeat the same old words, the same old concepts. We have to be that light. And we want to show up as a positive influence in the world. So we want to let this day be a day of gratitude and a day of celebration. Gratitude of how far we've come. And celebration of the wonderful journey of unity that we have ahead of us. Martin Luther King said once that an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. You haven't started living if you're just thinking about yourself. If you haven't risen above your own concerns to the broader concerns of everyone. In the evolution of human consciousness, we've come to a point that requires us, that demands of us to release our old patterns of mind, our old patterns of just focusing on our individualistic concerns, and embrace a new light that's being born in us now. This light is being born in us right here and right now. We have to embrace it. We have to embrace this moment. This is the moment. It really is. Can you feel it? Can you sense it? Do you feel the shift occurring? Lily always tells me, I feel a shift in the matrix. The matrix being that sea of illusion, the world out there. But when that shifts, it's because your mind is shifting. And as our minds shift collectively, we get to see the greater light. We get to see how our concerns for the whole really affect how this matrix of material association is showing up, the world, in other words. So it's an evolution of human consciousness, and it's demanding that we turn our gaze toward the light, turn our being, what motivates us, how we're living. What is it within you that causes you to get up in the morning and do what you do? What is it within you that guides your path to serve others? It's the light within you. It's the knowing that we are all connected. So this wonderful young woman, you've probably read this 100 times this week. Oh, no, this is Reverend Tony. Yeah, you haven't read this yet, but you should read it 100 times next week. Because it's going to say that the evolution of human consciousness is requiring, I just said this, it's requiring us now, it's demanding of us that we release the old patterns of mind. It's demanding of us that we embrace the new light that's being born in us now. We have a choice of how we want to show up, of who and what we're going to be. And the ideas in your mind and the beliefs in your heart are going to take on a new light, a new shape, according to the light of your individual inner consciousness. They're going to take on a new shape. And so will the collective consciousness begin to take on a different quality for you. It's going to take on a brand new quality for you. Because why? It is following a greater calling. It's following a greater light. You're not just following the dictates of your individualistic concerns. You're following a greater light of love that really is calling to each and every one of us. And Amanda Gordon said there's always light. If only we're brave enough to see it. I love how she put the word brave and light together. Because that's where the courage really comes in. You're not courageous when you're judging another person. It doesn't take courage to attack another person. It doesn't take courage to blame other people. It doesn't take courage to have lots of opinions. It doesn't take courage to take sides. It takes courage to see the light. So only if we're brave enough to see it, and only if we're brave enough to be it, that's where it takes courage. To be the light in a world of seeming darkness and separation and division and hatred. To be the light when others are judging and having their opinions. To be the light in every circumstance, in every situation, in all the challenging times. In the middle of a pandemic, be the light. In the middle of any kind of conflict that you see around you, you're called to be the light. And that's where true courage and true bravery come in. In order to see and experience this new light, we're going to have to let go of our old patterns of mind. That's just the way it is. They're blocking our forward movement. They're blocking our way forward. Old patterns of thinking. That's all it is. It's just thoughts. The only things that really separate us are ideas and beliefs. And blindly defending those ideas and those beliefs against all reason. Even if it's a crazy idea, once we latch onto it, we're defending it. And we're defending those ideas with our life, with everything. And you know what? Ideas change. Beliefs change. So you're blocking your movement forward. You're blocking your progress in seeing the light, in being the light. When you're holding on to those old patterns and those old ideas. Your ideas can change, so let them change. Your beliefs can change. Let them change. Let them evolve. You can change your ideas. And that was the slide that we just said. That as your ideas change, so does the collective consciousness take on a different quality. So, Martin Luther King was a very, very brilliant guy and a brilliant preacher and a brilliant civil rights activist. He said every man, I would say every person, but every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of what? Creative altruism. What an idea. Creative altruism. I'm going to help others and I'm going to find ways of being creative. I'm going to allow the Spirit my intuition to guide me in being creative, in helping those around me. Creative altruism, or what? The darkness of destructive selfishness. I love that seems to be a very basic and easy decision to make. Creative altruism or destructive selfishness? Gee, I wonder which one I'm going to choose. Because the one I'm destroying is me. I'm going to destroy myself. I'm going to destroy my community, my family, my country. I'm going to only be destructive in my world. Why do I want to destroy my world? I don't. I want to be creatively giving to it, altruistically. That means not wanting anything in return, not doing it for a reason other than to share this wonderful experience I have of my relationship with God or the universe or spirit, whatever you want to call it. Just my relationship with you. The love that we feel together. I want everyone to feel that. I want you to feel that. I want you to be happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, and free. Happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, and free. Woo-hoo! We're cheerleaders for the Spirit. Happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, and free. Woo-hoo! So we throw that word around a lot. Let's see, I should have a blank here. There we go. We throw that word consciousness around a lot. But what does that mean? Consciousness. What does that really mean? It just means the content of your mind. Your consciousness. What are you aware of? What are you thinking about? What are you talking about? What do you believe? What are your ideas? And your consciousness is what? Evolving. Don't get stuck in any one place in your consciousness. Ultimate truth is beyond our conceptual knowing, but it's not beyond our experience or our awareness. Ultimate truth is we're evolving. We're evolving to greater and greater expressions of what? The light. We're brave enough to see the light. We're brave enough to be the light. We're evolving. We're brave enough to let go of our old patterns of thinking. Because that's how we receive more. Let go of the past. We're open. We're open. We're opening up in what? Sweet surrender. We're surrendering to a power greater than ourselves, knowing that that power is love and only love. The reason you don't surrender is because you think there's power in hatred. You think there's a vengeful God. You think there's a hell somewhere that you're going to be locked up in forever. I mean, these are crazy ideas, but they've gotten into what? Your consciousness. They've embedded themselves in your mind. They have a place in the content of your thinking. You've placed these crazy ideas. You've embedded them deep down in the content of your mind. And these are the things which we're being healed from. That's why it's a new day and a new light. Because we're being healed from the old patterns of mind. We're being healed from the ideas that we are separate. From the ideas that in order to be happy, I must win. I must attack you. I must somehow be greater than you or greater than someone. It's not true. We're all the same. And I truly believe that God lives in each and every one of us in the same amount. In the same amount. So we throw about that word, consciousness, very haphazardly. I think we should focus on it when we say we are evolving in consciousness. It means we're breaking up the old patterns of our mind. We're pulling out the roots of that embedded theology or that embedded belief that's been holding us back. And we're accepting a new light. We're accepting new ideas. And collective consciousness, that is just our shared energy. When we're talking about raising the consciousness of humankind, it's something we're referring to as the collective energy of the thoughts that we share. There's a collective energy in sharing the thoughts that we are all one. Isn't there something wonderful happens? Just the idea that I can be healed in my body, mind, and spirit through intention and belief. That I am healed, happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, and free. Oh boy, I start to feel really good about that. Because those thoughts now are becoming part of our collective consciousness. Why? Because you're here with me. I'm saying these ideas and you're going, wow, happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, and free. Ooh, that feels good. Maybe I'm happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, and free. Maybe I want to be anyway. I want to be happy, healthy, healed, whole, abundant, prosperous, and free. Woo, I'm free. I'm free in the Spirit right now. Right now. I'm free in the Spirit. I love that song because it says, I'm only here for God. God meaning the collective consciousness of good, all good. God being good. God being omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Then that's all there is. And that's why I'm here. Okay, I promised Leonard this wouldn't be a 1-hour message. Because we have our annual meeting after the service today. So I'm inviting all of you to stick around after the service because I do want us to continue in this idea of oneness, in this idea of letting go of our old patterns of thought and embracing the light of a new day. So our collective consciousness is the ideas that we share. And so that becomes an energy. Now, when I look at you, and I know that we've come so far in this spiritual path together, we don't have to go back and hash over the contents of our mind. We don't have to go back and review all that we've learned. We have a vibration of energy that connects us together. We have a vibration of energy that speaks louder than words. And I'm asking each of you to keep vibrating at that level. And at the highest level is our interface of our individual mind with the Christ mind, with the universal mind. And that is Christ consciousness. When we are constantly allowing our individual minds to interface with universal mind. That's when we are beyond our individualistic concerns and we embrace the concerns of all humanity. That's when we're walking in Christ consciousness. When we talk about raising the consciousness of humankind, we're referring to this idea that includes everyone. We talk about inclusion and diversity on a much higher level. But if we can't include, even on this level, how am I going to include others in the spiritual realm? I have to see that God dwells in you, that Spirit dwells in you in the exact same amount that dwells in me. We are no different. We all have the Christ consciousness. It's just, are we accessing it? Are we brave enough to be it? Are we brave enough to see it in others? And are we brave enough to be it? That's the question. How do I want to show up this morning? How do I want to show up today? And that's our need for inclusion and diversion. No. Diversity. You're often diverted by our old patterns of thinking. We're diverted by the dramas. And we love it. Why? It diverts us from the light. It diverts us from our responsibility to not only be the light, but to see it in you. Okay, so the need for inclusion and diverse representation has never been so great in our society. There's some basic truths of reality that we human beings seem to share. You know, everything in this world, it seems to be used for a means of further separation. Because that's what you're deciding to use it for. You can also use it for a call to unity. You can use all the things that are occurring in your world as a call to see and experience our shared light and love together. So there's another thing I'm going to read from Martin Luther King today. It's the last quote on this page that I really love. He says, anybody can be great because anybody can serve. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics of physics to serve. I love this guy. Yeah. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And so that's what we are seeking to do. We're seeking to serve. We're seeking just to say, God, take all that I am, all that I can be, and use it for a purpose greater than myself. Use it for a purpose greater than my individualistic concerns. Just use me. Use me now and forever. I want to jump into that sea of infinite love that is serving humanity. So I posed the question in a recent podcast, and I invite all of you to listen to the podcast from Unity on Cape Cod. Can the Christ mind become the predominant mind in our collective experience? Christ consciousness, Christ mind. Can oneness become the... Yes, I hear a yes. I hear an authentic yes over here. Absolutely over here. Can that become our predominant mind in human consciousness? Because once that happens, we are not only on the road to peace, we are in it. It is our reality. And we can't go back because we've seen too much. Just imagine all the possibilities, the pure possibilities, when this becomes our collective consciousness, the Christ mind. Absolutely? Yes? Absolutely, I say as well. Just imagine how loving and how powerful each thought and each word and each action becomes, because it's all not only with such individual purpose and intention, you have the collective consciousness supporting you. The collective consciousness of love. The collective consciousness of light. The collective consciousness of rising out of the darkness of that old, worn out way of thinking. Those old patterns of mind which we now determine to abandon forever and have the courage to see the light and to be the light. So if you want to talk about greatness, if you want to talk about service, if you want to talk about evolution of consciousness, you have to be creative and authentic in your altruistic expressions. It has to be authentic. It has to be what you want to do. And it has to be led by the Spirit. Creativity, imagination, faith. And upheld by the power of the Spirit. And we know that this is our true reality. So forget all of those diversions. From now on, let us focus on the light that we see. Let us focus on that light that we can be, if we so choose. How do you want to show up? How are you going to show up today and every day? So I want to show you now in its entirety this poem read live by Amanda Gordon. And there are
Mr. President,
okay, thank
Dr.
you.
Biden,
There are copies of it in
Madam
the back.
Vice President, Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the wind-swept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild reconcile and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Wow. How's that for a national debut?
Yes, 22-year-old Amanda Gorman. We're so grateful for her presence, for her creative altruism. And there are copies of her poem that she just read, The Hill We Climb, in the back on the table. And I encourage each of you to take one home with you today. And I encourage each and every one of you to be brave enough to see the light and brave enough to be the light. Amen.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityoncapecod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.